has been trusted for almost 30 years in the janitorial services industry, is proud to present Hawks Professional Moving Services. Fully insured, local and long distance, packing services, commercial and residential. No job too small or too large. Friendly and reliable services. For more information or a free estimate, 609-484-0452. Hawks Professional Moving Services, where we treat your belongings like our own.
It's a new year, and it's time to get activated. The Atlantic City NAACP will host a 30-minute radio show every Tuesday at 5 p.m. on WEHA. Informative guests, current affairs, local topics, and up-to-date information will be provided. Join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. because when we fight, we win.
And everybody knows the truth. We just keep on pushing.
As the holiday fastly approaches, my mind runs back over good times we had. Can't help but feel a little lonely, and just a little bit sad. I don't know what I'll do to get through. So used to spending my holidays with you, but God never fails. His power prevails. Even at Christmas time. So His face now I see. His face now I see. It's in Him I'll find the strength I need. Voice sweet and low, sweet, telling me you don't have to be lonely at Christmas. It doesn't have to be a lonely holiday. If you give to someone else this Christmas, you'll see joy come your way. To celebrate Christ at Christmas, you must remember He was born today. For a dying world He came to save and give eternal life. So when you share yourself at Christmas, you show the Lord His way. Then they message from the Lord at Christmas.
I want all the sons of God to stand at your job, at home, in your car. Let's give him praise. Do you know him? Say what? Say what? Do you know him? Say what? Say what? Do you know him? Been around for a long time. So many people have let me down. They came around me cause I was cool. But when I met Jesus, they didn't want to come around. Oh, so glad I am saved. So glad I am saved. And filled with the Holy Ghost. Yes, sir. I've got a friend. Jesus is your friend. Do you know him? Jesus is your friend. Do you know him? Yes, he is. Jesus is your friend. Do you know him? Till the very end. Oh, Jesus is your friend. Do you know him? Jesus is your friend. Do you know him? Yes, he is. Jesus is your friend. Till the very end. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. Oh Lord, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. I know that he died for you, died for you. He'll see you safely through. Yes, he will. I know he's coming back again. Open up your heart and let him in. Jesus is your friend. Do you know him? Jesus is your friend. Do you know him? Jesus is your friend. Do you know him? Oh, yes, he is. Oh, yes, he is. Do you know your heart? Do you know him? He loved you from the start. Do you know him? He'll love you till the end. Do you know him? Jesus is your friend. Don't you know you are? You are. You are. You are. Yes, you are. Hey, you are, you are, you are, you are. Jesus, do you know him? Jesus, do you know him? Jesus, do you know him? Jesus is my friend. Hey. Jesus, do you know him? Say it like you mean it. Do you know him? Say it real loud. Do you know him? I know that Jesus is my friend. I know that. Hey, listen, my friend will heal you. My friend will see you through. My friend will deliver you. Oh yes, yes.
Gospel 88.7 WEHA. It's more than music. It's ministry.
WEHA, Port Republic, Atlantic City, and now on FM translator 100.3 W262CF, Atlantic City, Pleasantville.
You're in the struggle, I got a message for you. Breathe in. try to choke it out, even when the tears fall on your face. Just trust in God and every day. The life for me. So I clear it up clean. Somebody say it. It's gonna be alright. Trust.
WEHA is a listener-supported radio station. To make a donation, call 609-641-8870. Visit our headquarters at 3 Canal Drive, Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, 08234. Or log on to our website, wehavegospel.com.
We have gospel.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, two-time Stellar Award-winning radio station, WEHA, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. This broadcast has been sponsored by the Hawks family businesses who have been serving our community for over 30 years. And Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories, and Lady Mary Parish Ministries. Thank you so much for sponsoring In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. WEHA is
Christ-centered, community-focused, listener-supported. We have Gospel 88.7 and 100.3 FM, Atlantic City.
I am excited today to have a co-host. Oh my goodness, I've only had one, and this is my second co-host going into my 11th year here at WEHA In the Community with Dr. Thelma, and that is in the person of First Lady Mary Parish. So I am so excited to have you as my co-host.
Thank you.
All right, and just in case my listening audience don't know who you are, and I don't know how that is, I want you to say something about yourself.
Well, I'm in the community, First Lady of Charlotte Temple Apostolic Cathedral, with my husband's Bishop Bilal Parrish. My mother is Mother Waiters, and my father is the late Bishop James A. Waiters. And we've been there for over 50 years, just winning one soul at a time.
All right. As we spread the gospel one song at a time, you're winning one soul at a time. Well, welcome to our program today, and I'm so excited to have you a part of In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. We are a team.
Yes, thank you.
And I am excited. Now, I want the community to know a few things that was going on in the community. Don't forget to set your clocks ahead 1 hour at 2 a.m. on tomorrow. I don't want you to show up late for church for those that go. I don't want you to be late. So if you're listening, don't forget to set your clocks up. Daylight savings time has arrived. Also, if you are going to vote in Atlantic City for the change of government, the last day that you can register to vote is March the 10th. March the 10th. So if you're not registered, you need to get registered. Now there's a whole lot of stuff going on about the coronavirus and the flu. Everywhere I go, I see people with a mask on. Take it off. Take it off. Take it off. Take it off. Okay? If you want to be safe, wash your hands for 20 seconds. Wash your hands for 20 seconds. The difference between the coronavirus and the flu. The coronavirus, you have a fever. The flu, you have a fever. The coronavirus, you have a cough. And the flu, you have a cough. The coronavirus, however, you have shortness of breath and difficulty in breathing. The flu, you have a sore throat, a runny or stuffy nose, and muscle and body aches, headaches, and fatigue. Now, that's the difference. Now, there are more people who die from the flu every year than the coronavirus. I understand it's new, but do not panic. Wash your hands. I was out at an event, and people are just bumping. Nobody want to touch nobody. Staying 3-4 spots from away from each other. I mean, really, come on now. Get a hold, get a grip. I'm not telling you not to be precautious. Don't avoid large crowds. That means you're not going to the mall. That means you're not going to Walmart. That means you're not going to church. No, come on now, y'all. And I know I see people out in Walmart. So and everywhere else. So I don't really want you to panic. We do have a few cases in New Jersey, but when you have millions of people who live in New Jersey, one case or two cases is not even 1%. Okay, so do not panic, but do wash your hands for 20 seconds. And I saw something with Dr. Carolyn Leaf, and she was saying that a lot of viruses come on from stress too, because your immune system is weakened because of the stress that you are under. So when you detox your brain and wash your hands, you are more likely not to get the flu, the coronavirus, or the flu. Now that's enough of that. I just had to talk about that for a second because I got a breakfast coming up and people's talking about avoid crowds. No. Woo! Lord, I tell you, have mercy. I do want to announce that Lady Parrish has some information that she wants to bring to our listening audience too. That the Westminster Christian Worship Center, 9 South Chelsea, Atlantic City, we will be having our annual fellowship conference, and it will be from March the 15th through the 20th. On Sunday, we have Pastor Willie Johnson Jr. from Eureka Transformation Church. On Wednesday, the 18th, we have Overseer Alicia Oatman from Redeeming Love Christian Fellowship. And then on that Friday, we have Apostle Robert Parker from Deeper Life Deliverance Ministries. And then on that Saturday, we have our annual fellowship prayer breakfast at the Sheraton Hotel and Convention Center, 1 Miss America Way in Atlantic City. And that will be on March 21st. 2020 at 9:30 a.m. The doors open at 8:30 a.m. And our guest preacher will be Elder Mark Moore Jr. This young man is on the circuit, and he is the founder of the Young Leaders Conference of Atlanta, Georgia. Our musical guest will be Melvin Crispell III, 2019 Sunday Best winner. And our praise and worship will be by Tisra Witherspoon. The donation is $50 in advance and $60 at the door. The tickets are non-refundable. For more information, you can call us at 609-400-2108 or 609-457-7675. And this is being hosted by Minister Marcus Witherspoon. Lady Parrish, what would you like to tell our listening audience?
Oh, well, that is a great day, and that I'm excited to be here. That dreams delayed are not dreams denied. It's one of the things I wanted to do was to be on radio, but they had a long list of things. I was like, well, I don't know. But when you make up your mind, upgrade your thoughts will change your mind. I'm going to talk about that. But I did think about it. I thank Dr. Witherspoon for even considering me to be a co-host, because I never thought that was possible in my life. At 72 years old, I'm still dreaming, and I'm going and glowing, and I want to inspire other people to do the same. Age is only a number, not a factor in what you can do. You're never too old to learn something new, and you're never too old to pursue your dreams.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And before she's going to introduce our guest today, I just have two more announcements. On today, there is a 2020 Women's Empowerment Conference, My Year of Breakthrough. And this is from 9:30 to 1:30, and this is sponsored by the Patricia E. Moore Women's Ministry of the New Mount Calvary Baptist Church, 6755 Mill Road in Mays Landing. It's free. It includes breakfast and lunch. Doesn't cost anything, and they have some powerful women that will be speaking on today. Also, Real Kim Talks is at the Chestnuts Assembly of God Church in Violin, New Jersey. They have Viola Pierce. She's there, and she's the lady that started with the cookie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
she's
yes.
there. She took cookie. She went from
Loretta.
Loretta Pierce.
Yes.
She went from rags to riches.
Yes, started with the cookie.
Started with a cookie.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it's powerful, and that's going on. I have free tickets for that event. And the Fellowship of Churches has sponsored 4 tickets for my breakfast. So we're giving out a ticket on today. You can call us in at 609-641-8870, option 1. And thank you so much to the Fellowship of Churches for sponsoring those 4 tickets. I'm not giving out all 4 tickets at the same time, but 1 ticket at a time.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to move right along. And Lady Parrish, I would like for you to introduce our guest.
Oh, it's a pleasure. First of all, I would like to introduce Ashley Parker Laws, former student of mine at the Great Pleasantville High School in Pleasantville, New Jersey, home of the Greyhounds. And second is Aaliyah Sharice, really inspired by her Facebook page. She has 2. One is personal, and the other one is a motivational one. Both of them, she gives great things on it. But I'm very proud of these 2 young ladies, because really when I look at them and I read their information, they're living my dream. They're doing my dream. You know,
awesome.
This is where I came
charming.
from. Yes, I started out back in the 80s wanting to be a motivational speaker and doing the things that I see them do, and it really makes my heart glad. And I can't cry, but I'm just so excited. I was telling Leah that a couple of weeks ago I read one of the quotes on her page, and it said to upgrade your thoughts and you would change your whole universe.
Yes.
And I was thinking, how can I leave a legacy? How can I make impact?
Yes.
And once you decide you want to do things, the ball will roll for you.
That's right.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
You put some great quotes. I was like trying to think of them, and I should have written them down. But these are young ladies that are doing great things in the community. Ashley Parker Laws, she's an emergence life coaching and sports performance consulting person. She does a lot.
This is a beast.
Yes, yes.
you.
And she's going to tell you about all her accolades because I followed her. She was my student, and I loved her, and I followed her career from even being NCAA's Woman of the Year, ESPN, and all the great things.
Yes.
And now I'm following Sharice. She's doing great things, and she's going to tell you about her Diamonds brunch
over
coming
dinner.
up. Yes, and her wellness coming up. So I'm just excited that these two ladies, and for Women's Month, I thought it was a time to just make a great impact or to make my debut. Second day, third, fourth, fifth debut, whatever I'm doing something in a new season. So this is that. So these are the two ladies, and we're proud to have them to kick out Women's Month here at WEHA.
Absolutely, and to talk about women that we don't normally talk about.
Right.
All
Young
right,
women. Yes,
young women. There's a lot of people out there doing things. Yeah. So
trailblazers.
Right. So this is a great thing to do. So we're going to start out with Mrs. Parker.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Let's talk about what you do in the sports arena and the sports world.
Well, first, I would like to say thank you so much, Dr. Thelma and Lady Parrish, for having me here on the radio station. I am grateful. My name is Ashley Parker Laws, and I'm the founder of Emergence Life Coaching and Sports Performance Consulting. What I do is I have a heart for the athlete. I also have a heart for women. I am a woman myself. But I help the current athlete get to the next level in sports, meaning a lot of times the primary focus in sports is to, work out physically. But we know that sports make up a majority of the mindset.
Absolutely.
Therefore, it's pretty much 80% mindset, and for the most part, people focus on the physical portion. And me having a background of coaching for 10 years and being an athlete most of my life, I've come across athletes who are very gifted, very talented, capable, and a lot of times when they would compete, they would come up short. They would, sabotage their own success. I know they would have the ability because I myself trained them. I know that they were ready to be successful, but for some reason mentally they couldn't get from point A to point B. So I've realized that that's something very important that needs to be acknowledged. So I help with the mindset, to build confidence, to stay focused, to realize and pull out the greatness inside of them, and to just help them to be able to become better athletically. So those who have mental barriers, and even those who may not have mental barriers, to be able to work on the mindset portion of sports. And the second aspect, which is really my baby because this was a personal struggle I had, is the life coaching portion. This is helping athletes post-sport, being able to transition from sports to life. For myself, I struggled greatly because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my interests were, what my passions were. I didn't know who I was aside from sport. Once it came to an end, I was very confused and disoriented. Now, let me be clear. I knew I was okay with it ending. I just did not know what there was next for me. And I had 2 degrees. I had a health science degree. I have a sports management master's degree, but I never really had a focus on what it is that I wanted to do. And I realized there were a lot of athletes out there who do not know who they are.
Right.
It can be an identity crisis, who wants to move forward, but they lack the vision. They lack the ability to move forward because they don't know who they are. And what I had always learned growing up, I've always heard, sports prepares you for life. It prepares you for life. And I'm like, that sounds good, but how does it really?
Right.
How do we make that right? How do we make that practical? How do you actually apply those things and transfer what you've learned in sports to life? And there is actually a built-in blueprint. Like if you had success in sports, you can certainly have success in life. And that's fact. We just didn't know that same discipline you put in sports, day in and day out with that routine, we have to apply that to our life. That discipline, creating a routine, right? That same passion we had, we were very self-aware in sports. We knew what position we played. We knew what our strengths and weaknesses were. We knew what would help us to be more confident. We knew who we were. We were self-aware. A lot of times in life, we aren't self-aware as far as our gifts, our talents, what we may be really good at, what we are most passionate about. We don't know because we don't sit back and think about those things. So there is a built-in blueprint. There are a lot of athletes, elite athletes, professional athletes who struggle with this. And there is anxiety, there is depression, there is shame and embarrassment because it's like, who am I now? And there is another chapter for those athletes. God has put things in them for them to do more things post-sports. And not saying sports have to be over, you know, for them. They may do other things. They may coach like I did. They may, you know, just do different things.
They may open up a business.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
different things. They may mentor.
Yes,
a
ma'am.
group. And I think that some of the athletes now that are out there, like LeBron James, they are doing exactly what you're saying.
Yes.
They opened up a school.
Yes.
God rest Kobe Bryant, but he had mentored basketball teams.
Yes, yes.
Young teams and young athletes. So there is something besides or beyond
Yes, it is.
sports. So to have you to bring this awareness to the athlete to get their mindset,
That's right.
I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I really think starting with the mind, it starts first.
Everything in life
Everything in life starts
with the mind.
In the mind.
in the mind,
That's
because
right.
you'll get people. I tell my grandsons this a lot. They're athletes. That no matter how good you are, you always have someone who feels they're better than you,
That's right.
and they're putting you down. But you have to have the confidence
Absolutely.
Yeah.
in knowing what your ability is, and no matter what they say, you have to be able to stay focused. So having that
Right.
life coach and that sports coach is very important.
Yes, ma'am.
How important is that outside of a regular coach, like the coach of the team?
It's kind of it's funny. I always say that life and sports, they're like twin sisters. They're like so much the same. So you have a coach, right, who's teaching you specifically for that sport, for that event, and then you have the life coach who's teaching you specifically for life. So it's pretty much kind of the same thing, where the coach may teach, instruct, where they may exhort and encourage, may give you correct criticism, right? They will tell you, yes, that works. No, this does not work. They make you think. They push you, right? So that's the same thing a coach does. Like a track coach, a volleyball, basketball coach, they do that, but the life coach does the same thing outside of sports. It's just different. Slightly different, because they're very much the same. And it's important. It's very important to have a life coach. And it sounds crazy. I'm not exactly sure how long the life coach has been around. When people hear that, they sound like, is that really necessary? Absolutely, because you need somebody to be able to see you. You may not know who you really are. You might not know what's really inside of you, because I strongly believe that there are deep treasures inside of you, but it takes somebody to be able to identify that thing and let you and let you know, like, no, honey, you have more inside of you. I'm telling you, I see it.
Right.
And that's how it was when I was a track and field coach. I would see an athlete, and I'm like, okay, they're performing well, but there's more. If they get to a certain level, but there's more. Why? Because I see you. I study you. I know you. I communicate with you. I've watched you. So that's the same thing with the life coach. When we build a connection, we talk to one another. You let me know the things you're dealing with. I listen to some of the things that you've been through. I can say, I can identify things in you and help you to be able to get vision for your life, to be able to know that there's more, that life goes on, that you are greater. You know what I mean? That there's greatness in you. You're more than just an athlete. That's powerful and a beautiful thing. But there's a chapter 2 and a chapter 3 and a chapter 4. You understand?
Inside of your life.
Absolutely.
And dealing with the sports coach, I think is also important too, along with the life coach. There's a certain diet
Yes, ma'am.
that you have to have
Yes.
in order to compete at a certain level.
Yes.
So I used to like milk. Okay? And really, I can't eat cereal anymore because my grandsons told me that milk was killing me.
How about that?
So that they had to have almond milk.
Yeah, that's my
Well,
household.
I poured that on my cereal, And it just did not.
It didn't taste the same.
Didn't taste the same. So needless to say, I'm not eating cereal right now. But
it takes a little getting used to, but
I know.
That's my household almond milk.
Is it?
Yes.
What about lactate milk? I mean,
I can't. I mean, I don't want to say can't because that word is not in my. It's just the taste is not the same for me. But I do feel better.
Okay.
I'm not going to say I don't. Since I do. But when you're dealing with sports, you're not just dealing with the running on the field or the tackle. Or
it's a lot of conditioning that goes into it.
It's a lot of conditioning that you have to do as well. So having you is phenomenal.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You need that extra because if you come from a family that has not played sports, you don't know.
That's right.
You think just getting on the field and doing what the coach says is more to it than that.
A lot more.
Yeah, you have to be mentally sound.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And you have to be physically in shape.
That's right. They go together. It's a package.
It's a package.
You can't have one without the other.
And I can contest that accountability that goes with the sports too. And I can contest that she's perfect for that with the accountability.
Yes.
And I think that's the difference with the life coach versus the coach on the field is that individual one-on-one time that a life coach provides you to really give you that accountability on a deeper level.
I love it.
You said that perfectly.
Yes.
You did.
I can't say that. I couldn't have
She's
said that.
that for me. So that's why I can speak so, seriously.
Thank you.
So how did you get involved in the sports? I mean, I heard you say track. So you ran track?
Yes, I ran track and field. I ran, I'm from North Carolina. I ran at a younger age. I started like around 7 years old, but I did it briefly for maybe about a year and a half, and I stopped. When I moved here to New Jersey, I started again in 7th grade, and ever since then, I went on all the way up to, I got a scholarship in track and field in college, and straight from there, I went straight into coaching. I coached at Pleasantville High School for about 5 years, and then I went to Stockton University. I coached there for about 4 years, and so I've been doing track for a long time now.
A very, very long time. We have about a minute and a half before we go into our break.
Yes.
What would you like to say to someone that's out there listening to you that want to do sports, but they don't feel like that they are able or capable of doing it?
I will say to the listening audience, for anyone who wants to do a sport, who has that desire in their heart, to go for it and to do it and to see where you fit in. You may know what it is that you like, you may not know. So just give it a try. It can be challenging. It will be difficult. Sports is a process. A lot of times we want immediate gratification. We want success right away. It just doesn't happen that way. There's much to be learned in the process of sports. And for those who are working out, who feels like I'm stuck, I'm stagnant, just know that there is more for you. Just keep pushing. As long as you put the work in, you will get results. You will reap a harvest, but first you have to sow some seeds, right? Mm-hmm. So keep working. Believe in the program. If your coach is teaching you something, apply what you learn. Eat right, sleep, put in the work, be disciplined, be a good listener, take corrective criticism, and get the results that you need. But also to make sure you work on the mind. The mind is very important, and if you need any more information concerning that, Ashley Parker Laws is my name.
All right, we'll be right back. You're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma. I wasn't paying attention, right? So I'm still on. But what a way to start Women's History Month out with Lisa Parker Laws. Ashley Parker Laws. All right, and what a way to start it out. And you are a phenomenal woman, and I can see you helping many, many athletes and giving them the confidence. I thought I had a minute, but I have a little more time, so we're going to talk a little bit more. I want to talk about, what if a person says, my coach never picks me? My coach never picks me. I'm doing everything they tell me, but they never pick me. What would you say to that person? We got a minute.
I will say that your ability and your work ethic speaks for itself in results. Like I speak often about track and field because I say that the time never lies, so if you keep working, if you have good character, right, if you're doing what you're told, my hope is that the coach will come around. But just do the best that you can do. Put the work in. Don't expect anything for nothing, right? Make sure that you're accountable, responsible, making sure you work hard. And hopefully the coach will understand. Maybe even have a conversation with the coach.
And your attitude.
Yeah, and attitude is everything. I'll take good character over talent and ability any day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how good of an athlete you are, but if you have a nasty attitude and you're not coachable, no thank you.
Right.
So
All
character
right.
is everything.
Character is everything. We're going to take this break. We'll be right back. You listen to In the Community with Dr. Thelma.
Alright.
to Christ-centered, community-focused, listener-supported gospel. 88.7 and 100.3 FM, Atlantic City WEHA. Don't forget to follow us on social media by searching We Have Gospel on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Find out more at www.wehavegospel.com.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom now.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing. That's why AARP gives you the information to provide even better care for your loved one. Visit aarp.org/caregiving.
What's the difference between going to AtlantiCare's Comprehensive Stroke Center and going anywhere else? It's the difference between watching your grandkid ride a bike and teaching him how to ride. It's the difference between seeing your daughter get married and walking her down the aisle. It's the difference between losing what you love and living for it. When it comes to treating stroke, the difference between going anywhere else and going to AtlantiCare is everything. We're the only healthcare program with a neurocritical care team available 24/7. We have a diagnostic neuroimaging lab, and our neurosurgeons are always ready to operate if needed. And we meet the toughest standards to be a designated comprehensive stroke center. Why are we offering world-class stroke care right here?
Mrs. Thomas, your husband is in the right hands.
Because the difference is worth it. To see the difference, visit
I'm a
atlanticare.org/stroke care.
retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message
The
brought to you by
second
Meals
best
on Wheels
thing
America
about
and the
driving
Ad Council.
home is listening to WEHA. The best thing is getting there. And that's why I'm glad when I finally get home, I can listen to WEHA on my computer. It's easy. All you have to do is go to wehavegospel.com. Not only can I hear the station, I can also see what's playing at the time as well as what is already played before. You know, sometimes I'll hear a song on the radio and I want to know the name of the song and where I can get it from, you know. And when I need to go to another website, I can always use the pop-out player to keep WEHA playing in the background while I browse the web. They make it so easy for me at wehavegospel.com. You got to check it out.
Praise the Lord, everybody. El Presidente here, inviting you to tune in Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 12 midnight for Gospel Smooth, as we play the smooth sounds of gospel right here on Gospel 88.7 FM WEHA.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon, right here on your favorite gospel radio station, 2-time Stellar Award-winning radio station, WEHA, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. This broadcast has been brought to you by the Hawks Family Businesses, serving our community and for over 30 years, and Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories, and by the Lady Mary Parish Ministries, she is now my co-host on In the Community. So, Lady Parish, take it and bring in our next guest.
Our next guest is Leah Sharice. Oh, she is the founder of AC Chronicles. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know what that is, you need to go on that Facebook page and just read for about 5 minutes to be inspired and motivated for today. And she's also MBA, which is Mom Boss Assembly. Yeah. So she'll tell you more about what she does. She has the Chronicles crew. She was a model. She's really phenomenal. And it's even a pleasure to meet her today. But with that, I'm going to introduce her, Leah Sharice.
Hi. You said my name right.
Yeah.
So, Yes, AC Chronicles. My story, her story, our story. I believe that if you can heal a woman, you can heal a nation. I'm a real big advocate for women, even more big of an advocate of helping them to self-heal and dream again, because I had to. And so when I created AC Chronicles, it actually started with me using it as my hashtag when I was modeling, because I wanted you to be able to follow my journey. You know, this is my story, this is my journey, you know, I'm chasing my dreams. And then when I had to take a step back from modeling, I suffered with depression, dealt with depression really, really bad. And so AC Chronicles became something a little more, because I knew that I wasn't alone. And I knew that me sharing and being transparent, although I did not want to, yes. I knew that my life and my story was bigger than me. And so as God would lead me to share different pieces in the way that he would lead me. Now, I've always loved to write, but the way that I was led to write and share when it would be 2-3 o'clock in the morning, wake up and write this down. You know, I get that all the time, and I'd be like, I just want to sleep, and I'm rolling over. You better get up and write this down. And so I started sharing, and I started using AC Chronicles more so as a hashtag for other women to be able to follow along and realize that they weren't alone. And we are more alike than we are different.
That's true.
In so many different ways.
Yes.
And so me sharing, it became more easier. People didn't like it, but I often say now, well, that's the part you played. And unfortunately, it's a part of my story. I don't like it either. But and so
would you write about the events that transpired in your life?
So I would never use a name.
Okay.
But I would write about the hurt. I would write about the pain. I would write about how I was getting through it, which was Christ himself. Can't nobody else take, you know. I would not be sitting here with you if it wasn't for Christ himself and me learning his word in the way that he sees me versus the way that I was lied to. Which brings me to my Mom Boss Assembly, because when I became a mother, I ultimately felt like I was losing myself. I felt like I lost myself. I knew that I completely lost myself in a former relationship or situation, however you want to play it. And so finding myself and having to go on the journey of self-healing took me to a new level of mindfulness, right? And emotional intelligence. And having to go through the process, very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. But I did it because I had a daughter, and I said, she can't be like me. She can't be me. This can't be repeated through me, because there's a long line of this.
Right.
My mother hurt. She had pain. My mother had, you know, her abandonment, her rejection. Her mother had it. Her mother's mother had it. So it met me, and then that's where it stopped.
Right.
Because when I had Dallas, which is my only daughter, I said, no, she can't experience the feelings that I felt and the pressure that I felt on my heart. And so Mom Boss Assembly was created because somebody lied when they said that when you become a mother, you have to be a mother. But I don't stop being myself when I became a mother.
Right.
And who better to inspire my children than me?
Right.
So if I stop dreaming, and if I stop pursuing, and if I stop planting a foundation, then who's going to give it to them? Not Cardi B, not Jay-Z. Blue has her island waiting for her.
Right.
I got to create for mine now, right? So they're not reaching and getting my children. I got to reach and get my children.
Good.
They're my responsibility. They were loaned to me, and I take my responsibility over their life seriously. So I knew that I had to shift. I knew that I had to get me in order, and I knew that I couldn't let any generational anything that the devil was going to, though he thought was going to keep going. I knew I couldn't allow it to keep going. And so I created Mom Boss Assembly to inspire other women to get up, to inspire other mothers to get up and remember who you were before, remember who you wanted to be before, because it's still there. So I'm having my Diamonds Dreaming Over dinner, and my sister's actually going to be my moderator for the day, for the evening.
Now, who are my diamonds?
Diamonds are mothers because who got more pressure than us, baby?
That's right. That's good.
Who got more pressure than a mother, honey? And that's why I called us diamonds, because diamonds are created from the pressure. They become beautiful after being pressed on, shaken, burnt, and all of that. And so we are shaped and formed from everything that we go through. And so I actually want to say to anybody that you don't take anything as a rejection or take anything as what's the word I'm looking for, as a regret, because it shapes us.
Right.
And that took me a long time to get
good.
through.
That's good, because we think that when we go through something negative, that it doesn't play a part in shaping who we are.
It does.
But it helps us grow.
It helps us grow. And not only that, start looking at rejection as a release. You wasn't rejected. You was released, baby. You was relieved.
That's good.
God saved you from something.
That's
you wasn't
good.
rejected.
That's good.
And I had to start looking at that for myself, because, just like I spoke on Ashley being like an accountability partner for me, I'll call her and be like, Ashley, this thought, or Ashley, they said, and she'd be like, girl, that's a lie. Girl, the devil is a punk and a liar. And I'd be like, all right, thank you. I knew it, but I just need it. Sometimes we need that reassurance. And so building a gang is what I like to call my gang, my mom gang. Building that, because somewhere along the line we lost the village too. And I was raised with a village. I knew I couldn't be on a bus or walking the street acting a fool, because by the time I got home somebody knew, right?
Right.
We don't have that anymore. And so I feel like a lot of women feel a little defeated and a little deflated, and I'm here to help to bring that back to life, because we're the pillars of the community. Don't nothing turn without us. And I strongly believe that. I believe that, although a lot of us look at Eve and be like, I'm a fight over to get there. But she played a major purpose in giving us our purpose. We are major in the world. I say now, I let myself know I'm a unicorn. I'm a whole unicorn, and I know that now.
Oh, wow.
But it took me a while to get to that, because I lost myself in life. Life has beat me up. Life has done different things. Life has told me different things, showed me different things. And so now, as I have regained myself through Christ, I say, oh no, I'm a unicorn.
That's right.
Fearlessly and wonderfully made, clothed in the finest of silk and linens, and my children will rise and call me blessed.
Absolutely. Abraham Lincoln said that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So this is beautiful.
Okay.
So you're talking
This is
about
true.
diamonds. So where is this function going to be at? Because I feel like I'm left out here.
No, you need to listen. You need to come. You need to be there, because I know that a lot of people believe that it's just strictly for women who want to start a business. No, it's going to be a space created for women who want to find their vision again, be able to find that piece of themselves again. Dream again. But it's going to be held at Naomi's Cafe, which is in Northfield. I absolutely love their food. Nice, decent, intimate setting, panel discussion, some networking. I have vendor slots available. Actually, we're going to have like a vendor suite separated from the event, so we can go around, shop other mothers and support other women.
That's great.
Yes. All month. It's about us. It's
when is this?
This is going to be March 21st, Saturday, March 21st, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Oh, that's good, because now that's I said, because
Yes,
my
it's
breakfast
dinner.
is in the morning.
It's dinner now. Listen, so you got breakfast and dinner today.
Okay. So it's from 5 to 8? Is there
5
a
to
price
8 p.m.
to it?
There's $40 for admission.
Okay.
And you can cash at me for tickets. You can buy the tickets on Eventbrite to save your fees. You could just cash at me, which is #AC Chronicles for cash apping. So
I've seen AC Chronicles a long time, and I never knew that was you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, I hashtag it to death.
So it's social media.
That's my social media tag, so that you can literally click on that tag and see everything that I'm doing. Everything that I'm trying to do, just like throwing in the plug. In May, my second annual brunch with the matriarch. Matriarchs being us, mothers.
Yeah.
We're the head and not the tip.
Oh wow! Punch on, sister. Punch on.
So that's in May. That's in May.
That's in May. May
yes.
what?
That's going to be May 9th. So
May
please
9th.
save the date.
Save the date.
Yes, that's our space that we share and unload the heavy side of motherhood that people don't like to talk about, or they don't know where to start to talk about. I am your starter. I feel like I was created to help people find their starting point, because I have had to start again so many times. I've mastered how to bounce back. So now I'm going to show people where to find your starting point. And we may fail, you may stumble, but you get back up.
That's right.
So that's the conversations that we have at my events, because these are the conversations that people want to have, need to have, but don't have anybody to talk to, don't know where to start. So I help, like Ashley was saying, I see you, and I help you dig deep to pull it out.
Oh, that's good. So a setback is...
It's never. No, it's a setup. There you go.
It's a setup for a comeback.
For the bounce back. It's like that. That bow and arrow. When you pull it back, the further you pull it back, the further it shoots.
That's right.
And so that's pretty much what I'm doing. And I'll be in Delaware speaking at the Wellness and Women's Conference with Wild Inc.
And when is that?
That's going to be March 13th. I'm sorry, March 14th, Saturday, March 14th.
That's next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be in Delaware next Saturday speaking on that panel. And this is actually the biggest platform and room that God has put me in.
Okay.
And I'm just so grateful. When I got the email, I laid in my bed and I cried in that moment. And I said, you know what? Stop crying. You prayed for it. So you was in expectation for it. And here it is. Now just prepare yourself.
Oh, wow. You are a phenomenal woman.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, this is great information for my listening audience. I don't know a better way that we could have opened up Women's Month, Women's History Month, with two women, Ashley Parker Laws and Aaliyah Sharice.
Yes.
Did I say it right?
Yes, you did. And I love it.
So we're doing a lot here. You're doing a lot, and it's a lot of encouragement, because sometimes when you're in something, you feel like you're the only one, and you find out.
And that's where the enemy tries to get you with the loneliness.
Yes.
And he'll try to make you think like God did this to you, or look what you did, type of thing. And that's never the case. Everything has a purpose.
That's right.
Every situation, every encounter, every conversation, every message that you're watching, it all has a purpose. That's why it's actually important for us to watch what we watch and watch what we're listening to, and things of that nature. And that's something I learned later on, just like I'm still learning about energy, and it made sense to me, because I transfer energy. I hug people, but I already sense your aura. But if I sense your aura, I might not hug you. I might be, how you doing?
Right.
Because
did you hug me when you came
I
in?
did. I did. You gave me a handshake first, and then I hugged you.
Yeah, I did.
See that?
You're right.
Yeah, I'm big on it now.
But you know what? I also tell people that I don't waste my energy.
Right.
Yes,
No.
Right.
You know, I had to learn that too, that I'm putting a lot of time into something that may not even have nothing to do with me.
Right, absolutely.
And I'm drained when it's over with.
Drained.
I've given all of my energy. I got things to do, places to go, and people to see.
That's
And I
right.
can't do all that with my energy.
No.
Absolutely.
So that's I do like the fact that you brought that up, because I just said that to someone, and when they said something to me, I said it's too much energy.
Yeah, too much.
I can't
I'm
do it.
really big on it now, because I literally I give so much of myself freely. It's just like my nature. Somebody was like, you're a helper and a healer, and I was like, makes sense. That's why so many different people are drawn to me. I believe that it's bittersweet, because I often pour so much and don't even have any. I'm pouring. It's like you'll get drops. That's all I got left, but I keep pouring it regardless. But I've had to pull back from that. I'm a single mother of 3 children, and they get enough of my energy, and sometimes I barely can give them any. And so now, that's where the anxiety or some depression might try to seep in, because now I'm not being a good mom because I don't have energy.
Right.
So you see how everything has alignment, and it plays a part. So it's important for you to protect your peace, protect your energy, because there are things that you have to do, and we don't have time to play.
I don't have time.
Yes.
I don't have time to get so scared about the coronavirus and locked up in my house and can't get out and do stuff. I got stuff I got to do.
Listen, just carry your Lysol can and spray people.
Carry your sanitizer, wash your hands.
It will be okay.
It's going to be okay.
It's going to be well. It is already well.
It's already well. What would you like to say to my listening audience?
To anybody that's listening, please, you have a dream, you have a purpose. You can't shake it. You need to just run towards it. Believe in yourself, but more so believe in your Most High, because He never will give us more than what we can bear, and He assigned you to what you saw. And believe in it, have faith in it. Be scared of it, sure, but still go for it anyway. Even in the tears, go through it. Go for it anyway. Even in the fear, go for it anyway. Remember that worry is an investment. Worry is a payment on interest that you're wasting your money on.
Oh wow, I love that. Worry. Oh, I'm gonna
write that down.
Worry.
I'm gonna write it down.
Interest paid on something that does not happen, so you're wasting your money.
You're wasting your money. Now I'm gonna put that on my Facebook page. You know, when I'm over with. How can people get in touch with the both of you if they wanted to follow you or get in touch with you on what you're doing?
At Aliyah Sharice on everything for me. ALIYAHCHERRISE. Shout out to my aunt who got my kids right now, my namesake. I got my name from her. But yes, that's me on everything.
All right, and you, Ashley Parker Laws.
Yes, I'm Ashley Parker Laws on Facebook, but you can follow me on Instagram at Emergence by APL. And my contact, you can actually call me, text me. My business line is 300-609-300-3262.
All right, you are some professional women. Lady Parrish, what do you want to say?
I want to say a shout out to Karen in North Carolina.
Hey, Miss Karen.
And to Don, who's down in Atlanta. They're listening to us and sending messages, so we're happy about that.
All right. Well, we got a lot going on today, and I thank everyone. Dr. Russell Oatman says, God bless you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. First Lady, keep blessing the people with your voice. Sending love from the Oatman's home to you this morning.
Thank you.
All right. Well, did you enjoy our program?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to say thank you to you both. Thank you so much for having us and bringing us on.
Yes.
We definitely really appreciate you guys.
Well, I'm going to be following you ladies.
Yeah.
Because you're trailblazers, and I'm going to be following you and connecting people with you.
Yes,
everything
please.
is doesn't happen by chance.
No, not at all.
Now, I don't believe that.
I don't believe that.
Did you enjoy our program today? I know you did. Thanks for tuning in to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon, co-host First Lady Mary Parrish. All right, to In the Community with at 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. Keep those dials locked to WEHA. See you all next week.